3:01. This meeting of the Finance Committee for November 20th, 2025 is hereby called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman at Large Keith Larson.
Here.
Alderman Dan Barreiro.
Here.
Alderman Edward J. Bug.
Here.
Alderman Carl Franco.
Here.
And Chairman Ted Masiacos is present. And let the record reflect that Alderwoman Smith is with us today.
Thank you, Clerk. Alderman Bug requests permission to participate remotely per Section 2-80 based on a reasonable anticipation of an extended illness. Is there a motion to authorize Alderman Bug to participate remotely? Motion by Alderman Barreiro, second by Alderman Carl Franco. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Welcome officially, Alderman Bug.
Thank you.
Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to offer public comment?
We do not.
All right, then Clerk, could you please read the first item on the agenda?
Item 25-0874, an ordinance authorizing and providing for the abatement of general obligation bond tax levies, 2025 tax levy extension.
Ms. Peterson?
Stacy Peterson, Chief Financial Officer. This item in front of you is for the abatement of the general obligation bond tax levy for 2025. When general obligation bonds are issued, there's a requirement to automatically impose a tax levy to make the principal and interest payments for each of the bond issues that a municipality issues. The city can abate or remove the property taxes from the tax bills of the residents. Historically, the city has abated all of the principal and interest except for $4 million. The first attachment that is on your Legistar item shows the tax levy requirement and lists all of the GO bond obligations that the city has. The second column is the amount that we are going to abate, which is $14,905,998.86. The amount that is going to go on the tax levy for 2025, payable in 2026, will be the $12,691,750. The next item that is attached also kind of shows the historical tax levy for showing 2023 payable in 2024, 2024 payable in 2025, and 2025 payable in 2026. This is the sources of the amount that we will be abating. So you can see that gaming tax, real estate transfer tax, hotel motel tax, storm water management, SHAPE fund will also transfer in money, capital, and the library, upon their separation, they pay us the amount of the principal and interest for the year for the obligation of the proceeds for the debt principal and interest for that tax GO bond that we issued in 2012. And with that, do you have any questions about the abatement?
Is that part of your first presentation, Ms.
Yeah, this
Peterson?
one doesn't have a presentation. I have a presentation for the other, the property tax levy overall, and then the budget.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll just open it generally to the entire committee. Questions? Alderman Barreiro.
Yes, I'd like to see them all together, before we make a decision, because this impacts the others and vice versa. Is that, can we just do that? See the other presentations?
I don't see why not, that,
Does that make sense?
Do you want to come back to this? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you want to put it to the side for now and just keep talking about the other resolutions? You want to table it for the
Not
for the
table,
time
but
being?
just for the time being, so we can
Right.
see what the whole picture is.
Right, okay. I don't have an issue with it unless somebody has an objection. Alderman Bug?
No, I'm good.
All right. I guess, you call it just a friendly amendment or motion, we're just gonna put it on this, we're gonna table it for the time being until we come back to it before the meeting end. All right.
Point of order.
Yes, Alderman Bug.
Yeah, I guess correct terminology, you're just passing on this? Table is official action.
All
You
right.
don't want to table.
Yeah, I thought we are passing on it, just putting on the side, on the table that we're working on right now. That was what I'm trying to mean, so before the
Yeah.
meeting ends. We're gonna come back to it, so appreciate that clarification also for the community listening in. So clerk, could you read the next item on the agenda? We'll come back to this one.
Item 25-0875, an ordinance levying taxes for the city of Aurora, Illinois for the fiscal year January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025.
okay, Stacy Peterson, Chief Financial Officer. What you have in front of you is the 2025 property tax levy that will be billed and collected during calendar year 2026. I will briefly go over some of the basic facts, discuss the equalized assessed valuation, otherwise known as EAV, and discuss the impact on a home valued at roughly $300,000. The city's levy for property taxes is basically made up of three major functions. The general city obligations, which is typically around $47 million annually. The second major function component of it is pension costs. This includes police and fire pension and a portion of the IMRF expense the city incurs for pensions for its general employees. The third main function of the property tax is payment of debt service. This provides a portion of the debt service costs for the general obligation bonds on an annual basis. The property tax levy has provided roughly 84 to $93 million annually since 2022. This is a schedule that you've seen before. The top portion shows the historical components of our levy over time from 2017 to 2025. You can tell the bottom portion in orange is the city's operation levy. It was pretty consistent all the way up to roughly about 2022, and it was in 2022, it was increased from 41.8 million to 47.8 million. The two bars above it, which are the gray and the yellow or gold, represent the police and fire pension costs, which you can see over time have increased as well. Then you will note that the green portion, which is the top on every single bar, represents the debt service. The debt service has historically been levied, again, at $4 million. You'll notice on the levy for 2024, payable in 2025, the levy was increased to $5,750,000. And then again, for the 2025, payable in 2026, the debt service levy will be increased to $12,691,800. On the bottom portion of the slide, it represents the relationship between the tax rate and the equalized assessed valuation over time. You can see that our equalized assessed valuation of the properties within the city have increased significantly, which then has a corresponding relationship with the tax rate, and it has decreased over time. The uptick from 2024 to 2025 actually represents the increase in the pensions, but also the debt service impacts the tax rate as well. And this slide you've also seen in the past too. This is just the historic pension obligation in relation to the police and fire pension costs over time. The blue line represents police, the red represents the fire pension obligation. This slide has several items on it that are really useful. You'll note that the city's general obligation levy will not change, obviously from the tax extension to the levy. It went down by like $13,000. The three components that will change will be police and fire pension and the debt service. The overall tax rate for the city will increase by approximately 0.0603. Again, this is just an estimate. The final tax rates are calculated by the counties and will be finalized usually around April and May of the next year. The dollar amount of the levy will be increasing by $11.1 million. Public safety pensions will increase 4.2 million. And again, police and fire pensions, the city does not control this amount. This is required by statutory minimum contributions that we have to make for the pensions. The increase in the debt levy is the result of the public buildings projects and constructions that we have in the works right now in relation to the fire stations, the Public Works facility, Rivers Edge Park, and Bilter, Farnsworth. And what you will note here, I did a comparison from 2023, 24, and 25 with the $300,000 value of a house. So I based it off of the 2023 payable in 2024, saying that the house is $300,000 at that point in time, and then I took the percentage increase of the EAV and updated it to reflect a more accurate cost for a $300,000 home, because we all know the value of your house usually goes up every year. So be representative of a house that, when it was assessed for the tax year bill for 2024, would go up to about the $369,825 for its value. Then noting below that is the amount that is just the component of the tax bill for the city's debt service and debt service combined. And you'll note that the impact will be about $211 annually. The city portion is an increase of $86, and the debt portion would be $125. Again, this is all an estimate based on an assumption that the EAV for the tax levy year will go up by 7.89%. Take into consideration that the cities in 4 counties, each county and their assessors do increase their rates separately, and they all do not increase them at the same percentage from year to year. And again, this is just recapping the increase in the debt service for the public facility projects. And roughly all 4 of those buildings cost the city about $100 million. And with that, do you have any questions in regards to the property tax levy?
Alderman Barrero.
Yeah. Can you go back to the slide on the pension, yeah, that one.
Mhm.
So what is the reason for the dip there in 2022?
I do know that we had a personal property replacement tax that was misallocated by the state. So we actually had more of personal property replacement tax allocated to the pension cost. And then also there is the change in valuation of the actuarial assumptions.
So the actuarial went down for the required contribution, or we just
It-
had less money because of the PPRT?
The assumption value caused the dollar amount to be higher, but then with the PPRT, we allocated more because over time the state had given us more than what should have been allocated, and then they were starting to take it back. So there was a misallocation with the state over time. It almost doubled the PPRT, and then they had to take it back after they realized that there was an allocation error.
Okay.
And it should level itself out within the next year.
My next question is on the levy, on the last one you had. Yeah, so I follow the market value, the 300,000, and then it increased by 42,000, and then it went up again to almost 370. I see what you're trying to do, but it's hard to kind of compare apples to apples. If it was the same amount for the 3 years, and people can kind of.
Yeah, ultimately what I was doing is it's for an individual that has a home at 300,000, it goes up over time to be
Right.
realistic, to compare 2024 with 2025. Putting 300,000 and 300,000 doesn't really necessarily give an accurate change of the impact on the individual. Now, obviously, if someone bought a home and doesn't have that history, I mean, I can do it both ways. If you want to see the impact, I can do that as well.
So that last number there, is that a comma or is that a period? 1.83, or is that a 1,800? And the very bottom under the 2025?
$1,883.
Okay, so then that's the amount in taxes being paid against the EAV of the home and the rate of 1.63?
Yes, and that's just obviously the city's portion, doesn't include any other of the taxing districts that are on the tax bills.
Okay, so my question then is with the growth in assessed valuation, what is the impact of that in the overall, the growth in assessed value? And is that rate going to be is that the 1.63?
I guess you mean because
we have, I know we're having growth in EAV, so is that where that 1.63 is being factored in?
yeah, I estimated it at 7.89%. Now, I do know each of the counties, obviously have their own evaluations, and they increase the percentages differently, so it depended, that's a blended average, because some counties have higher increases in equalized assessed values than others, based on the assessor's evaluation.
What about new construction? Is that being factored in to this picture? Not just the assumption that EAV is going to go up on a percentage, but the new construction component of that?
The new construction component is taken into consideration, but we are not increasing the general levy to capture any new construction. If
You
that-
talking residential, or you talking commercial, or both?
Commercial, residential, because that's new tax base, right? So how are we factoring that in?
Yeah, do you mean in order to collect more dollars for?
Yeah, I mean, how's that impacting the levy? It means more people are paying into it, so then the rate
It goes
in
down.
theory goes down. So
Yes, the rate goes
is
down.
that reflected in here?
That is reflected. That increase is related to the debt service portion.
Or maybe I should ask a
'Cause-
different question. Is there a schedule that shows the EAV percentage increase and also a breakout of the new construction?
I don't have a schedule like that, but I can provide one for that.
I just think it would be helpful to show that picture of new construction coming into the, paying, also helping to spread the costs of the tax levy.
Chair, may I ask a question, just clarifying
Sure,
question?
absolutely.
Shannon Cameron, Chief of Staff. So are you looking at new construction, because usually it'll take a year for it to affect the tax rolls, so
But we
new
would have
construction that came
from
online last year?
that It's
Okay.
always going to be in arrears, but we've had
Yep.
new construction that's going to come online from previous,
Yep, okay, thank you.
yeah. So that's my question, and just to see what that impact's going to be, because I think when we factor in new construction, it's going to lessen the amount being asked from current taxpayers. So that's what I'm trying to find out. You don't have to answer it right now, but that's one of my questions.
Ms. Peterson, have you reached out to the assessor's office to gauge what the climate is in regards to the tax bill? If it's gonna, EAV is gonna go up or down? I know we had that discussion in the past. You reach out to,
Yes,
Yeah.
we do reach out to them.
all right, okay, all right. Okay. All right. Alderman Bug, do you have a question?
I just want to interject on what Alderman Barrero was asking. In the past, I don't know if we got it last year, we got it a couple years ago. So there was a chart which showed the number of residences, taxed residences in the city, and the EAV of those residences. And so we had that graph over a couple of years, so you could see how many residences there were in a given year, then how many was the next year, your construction increase, and the EAV on those new homes included in the total picture. So I think that is kind of what Alderman Barrero was requesting, a graph or a chart similar to that.
Alderman Franco, do you recall a chart like that being provided last year as well?
I don't remember that offhand.
Okay.
I mean, if Alderman Bug
It wasn't
does,
last year, but it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, offhand I don't, but it could very well have been.
All right, do you have, all right, Alderman Bug, are you finished with? We can always come back to you.
No, I am good for now. I'll just wait for the final presentation.
Sure. Alderman Franco.
Yeah, the only question I have, there was a slide that you showed about the debt service for the construction, the fire stations. I didn't see, and maybe I missed it real quick on there. Isn't the River Edge Park in there too?
Yes,
I didn't see it on there. Maybe I briefly didn't, but is it on that chart with that?
it's
'Cause I-
part of the projects that we have that are being funded through debt service, or
Right.
through the
Can you go back to the
GO
one that showed that? I just, maybe I missed it. I knew that was part of it,
It's not, yeah, it's not on there, but it is part of the.
but it is part of it, okay. Because, you know, when we explain things to people, I know this, and I even know that too. I just want to make sure that something didn't happen with that.
Mhm.
That's my only question. Thank you.
If I may, there's one other thing, which is the DAC development is also part of that as well.
Do you have a question, Alderman Larson, before I hand it back over to for
Not at
second
this
round?
time.
Nope, all right.
Just
Alderman
to,
Barrow.
just to follow up, so, the ordinance for the, abatement for the bonds,
Mhm.
the, that is, that, those assumptions then are built into the tax levy, the item 875. So the tax levy is created based on the first part, the
Yes, yes, if
abatements.
you actually look at the item
So
that is
there's a tie-out,
attached.
a tie-out.
Yeah, if you
Can-
actually
can
look
you
at
go
the
over
item.
that? Can you-
Yeah, the item that's attached to the 2025 property tax levy item has the historical, this is the historical history, which actually shows from 2018 to 2024, and then it has the proposed change, and then the proposed dollar amounts in relation to the amount that we're going to levy for 2025 payable in 2026. And
So
that
the-
is incorporated.
Okay, so the unabated amount relative to the tax levy portion is reflected in the tax levy
Yes,
for the abatement?
yes.
Okay.
Alderwoman Smith? No? No? All right. Alderman Bug, any other questions or insight?
No.
Nope. Okay. Now, can we go back to the first item, 25-0874? Alderman Franco?
I was going to make a
Oh,
motion.
okay. Well, if there are no further questions on that one item, would ask if there's a motion to approve.
That was my motion.
All right, I have a motion from Alderman Carl Franco,
Second.
second by Alderman Keith Larson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 25-0875,
Motion to approve?
motion by Alderman Carl Franco. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Dan Barrero. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Clerk, could you please read the next item on the agenda?
Item 25-0954, an ordinance levying certain special service area taxes for the fiscal year January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025, special service area number 90.
Mrs. Peterson, floor is all yours again.
This is the SSA, that's for SSA 90 Plum Street and Howard. It had expired and we extended it. It had an additional $11,315.44 still owed on the SSA for reimbursement this was for gutters, curb, gutter, sidewalk, driveway approach, and parkway restoration. It was extended on 1/14 of 2025, and the dollar amount of $6,313 is the same as it has been on the previous levies.
Okay. Anything else for now? Okay, well, it's an extension from our discussion on Tuesday. Any further additional questions from the committee?
One quick question.
Alderman Larson.
Thank you. So you said there's about 11,000 remaining that needs to be repaid, so it'll just go on for one more year to cover the rest of that, is what we're
Yes.
expecting?
Mhm.
Okay, that's all.
Any other questions? Additional comments from the committee?
Motion to approve?
Second.
A motion by Alderman Franco to approve, a second by Alderman Dan Barrero. If there are no further questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Clerk, could you read the next item on the agenda?
Item 25-0946, an ordinance adopting an annual budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2026 and ending December 31st, 2026 in lieu of passage of an appropriation ordinance.
Okay.
Ms. Peterson.
What you have in front of you is the Legistar item for the 2026 budget. Again, I would like to thank everyone for their continued efforts in preparing this budget this year. It's been a long process. We've had our first meeting October 21st for the Finance Committee, and we ended on last Tuesday, November 18th. What we will be discussing here is the overview of the revised 2026 budget, recapping some of the major revenue items, discussing next steps, and briefly talking about departmental changes. So the 2026 total budget, the budgeted expenditures for 2026 will be $680.8 million. This particular dollar amount includes the carryovers and late changes, and it's got carryovers of $47.8 million. Our revenues will be $537.3 million. The difference between the revenue and expenditures is $143.5 million. This is a combination of a couple of things. It's budgeted revenues and financing sources from 2025 and prior. That would include your carryovers of the $74.8 million, prior surpluses that were generated, timing differences in expenses, and then take into consideration debt, GO bond proceeds that we would receive in one year and spend them throughout several future years. And this slide represents a comparison of the overall budget between 2025 and 2026. You will note that this is a 13.8% decrease in budgeted expenditures. I kind of broke this down into a couple different slides for the general fund so that you can see the progress. So taking into consideration with the revenues and expenditures, the first line basically represents the original budget that you received on October 15th, and then taking and adding the late changes, which would give you revenues of $249.6 million and expenditures of $249.1, which gives you roughly a surplus of $480,339. Again, this amount represents what we did to balance the budget. We transferred in a one-time of $2 million from gaming into the general fund to assist with the attrition of the staff that is happening in 2026. And then also for the carryovers, that will be a planned drawdown of fund balance. And then this is taking into consideration the late changes and the carryovers into the total. And you'll notice once you put the carryovers into the general fund, it's a deficit of 3.2 million. And this is just a quick recap of some of the significant changes that we made throughout the budget. The Community Affairs Department was eliminated. Public Facilities was moved into Public Works. Clerk and Sustainability was moved into the executive portion. As we established the first ever sustainability positions. We have staff reductions, and then we also have a reduction in software usage. In relation to the staff reduction, 54 positions for interns, seasonal, and cadets will be eliminated. 81 full-time and part-time positions will be eliminated as well. 31 of those are currently vacant, and 32 will go through attrition. So that's a total of 135 positions reduction overall for the 2026 budget. In terms of general fund revenue, about 92% of general fund revenue comes from 9 major sources. We got property taxes, sales tax, home rule sales tax, food, beverage, and liquor tax, utility taxes, income tax, personal property replacement tax, building permits, and fire services. Within the proposed budget that all the alder persons received, pages 27 to 90 include the line item detail of the general fund revenues. Again, it's very similar to how the expenditure line items work in terms of information and detail. Again, the real estate transfer tax stamp, for example, funds the debt service, and that's in Fund 401. So now briefly, just going to go over a little bit about the different components of the revenues. So our sales tax revenue, this shows the home rule sales tax and also the state shared sales tax. What you will note this year for 2026, and it's happening in 2025 as well, the state has changed the way use tax is reported. It's specifically for destination items. When you're looking at the state sales tax, currently right now it's increasing about 18% higher than last year, and that's due to what the state references as leveling the playing field. So it's based off of how they collect the tax on when items are delivered for destination purposes. You will note that the use tax is going down significantly by almost 80%. So we adjusted the 2026 budget to reflect that. The income tax for 2026, we're estimating at 32.2 million. Currently, right now, as it stands in 2025, we have met the budgeted amount that we budgeted for 2025, which was $30,681,000. So there will be a little bit, we'll receive more over the budgeted amount for 2025. Incorporating casino gaming tax. For 2026, we actually adjusted, and it's on the late change schedule, $3 million to take into consideration the opening of the new casino. We will be monitoring that on a regular basis, and also, like I said, on Tuesday, we will be bringing back the monthly report that goes out to all the alderpersons showing the historical trend of the casino revenue, along with the monthly report that the state provides, so that you can see how all the other casinos are performing in the state as well for reference purposes. Food and beverage tax. We left this tax flat for 2026. Currently, right now, we're estimating $7.5 million in revenue. Right now, in 2025, we are at $7.1 million. The electricity use tax, for 2026, we increased it about $250,000. We will monitor it, obviously, with the new data centers and new development. This would potentially increase even further. We have it budgeted for 2026 at $7 million. And again, the real estate transfer tax stamp, this actually funds a portion of the debt service, which is part of the abatement, where every year we budget $300 million for this revenue source. And then ambulance services, we increased it by about $500,000 for 2026. So that would be a budget of $6.7 million. Motor fuel tax, we received this from the state. It's on a per capita basis. We did a slight increase on it from a prior year budget, increased it by $150,000. So we are currently planning to budget $8.2 million. And then building and permit fees, this fluctuates from year to year based on the construction that we have within the city and any other renovation projects, et cetera, that people do within the city. We actually have it budgeted fairly flat compared to last year, about a $150,000 increase. We're at $5.2 million expected to be budgeted in 2026. So basically, the next steps is forwarding the budget to Committee of the Whole on December 2nd. Then on December 9th, we will hold a public hearing and pass the budget after the public hearing on December 9th. And then the tax levy will be in consideration at City Council on December 16th. And then I will open up for any questions.
I have a question. The tax levy can't be right after anticipated approval of the budget on the same night? Just curious. I mean, it's not the end of the world, I wouldn't think, but you can get back to me on that. The one question I had for you right off the bat that I came up when I was watching your screen is regards to electrical usage tax.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty flat. When do we anticipate the data centers on I-88, the new data centers coming up and running?
We are actually looking at that to assess potential additional revenue that could come in through the electricity utility tax.
Okay.
And that could be the middle of next year, but we will be closely monitoring when those come into.
Okay, so they're not going to be open by the end of.
I would have to
December.
double check just to make sure what the status
Okay,
of those
okay.
projects.
Well, all right, because I just want to, if my memory suits me well, I believe it was said that we anticipate about $1 million increase in tax, usage tax coming to the city because of those data centers, so.
Yeah.
unless,
Yes. Hi, sorry to interrupt. Allison Lindberg, Director of Sustainability, and we have been looking at the data center and the tax revenue. So what happens with the data centers is that even when they come online, they don't come online all at once. So let's say we have a 100 megawatt data center, usually takes between 2 to 3 years for it to come all the way up. So the projections that we're making right now is any new data center will probably come online with an incremental amount in 2026, then 2027, and then it won't meet it until 2028. We do have a spreadsheet with those projected numbers for some of the data centers. We currently do not ask for the capacity that they're expecting to need during the application process. That's one of the things that we hope to change with the moratorium.
yeah, understood. But what I was trying to get at eventually too was that we will know more towards the summertime when they're going to be online as well. And any increment that was just talked about could be put into a potential amendment, budget amendment in the summer.
Yes, we could do
Right.
an amendment.
Right, okay. That's where I would want to make sure we clarified as well, so I thank everyone for that. Okay. I did have some questions too, but I think I can take care of them offline myself. So I'm going to open it up real quick. I'm going to go over to Alderman Keith Larson. Any questions?
I don't have any questions at the moment that haven't already been addressed, so that's good for now.
Okay. Alderman Franco?
I have two proposals or amendments to the budget. So I had talked to the treasurer of ACA, and I said, is there still things that you guys could need in addition to that $2 million? And so what they're faced with right now is a boiler and a chiller that are on the verge of going out. Concern is you wouldn't want the boiler go out, no heat in the Paramount during the middle of the season, because if we lose a week of revenue because we had to fix the furnace, that would not be where we want to be. In addition to that, they have a $600,000 deficit that they'd like to equal out, which brings us to $1.25 million. And they said that if we had an additional $200,000 for the $1 million quartet, they can go from their proposal 6 months being open to 10 months being open, and 7 to 8 shows per week. So that comes out to $1.42 million for the new boiler, get them back on track for balancing their budget and keeping Stope Island open instead of 6 months, 10 months. So we know that this is an economic engine for downtown. We know that I've talked to a number of people that have small businesses downtown. They're very concerned about lack of shows and such. So I would propose that we take $1.42 million from the Transformation Fund under Community and Economic Development Lending Program, which we have $7.7 million, because in essence, this is for our small businesses. And I can't see a better way of taking care of our small businesses than giving money to our economic engine that drives everything down there, which basically represents $54 million a year in economic monies for our downtown. So I would make that proposal right now to take the money out of that, $1.425 million, and give it to ACA. So now they can have more shows, and they're ready to run all season long without worrying about missing some performances because no air conditioning and no heat.
Can I ask a question? This conversation, when did it happen? Because AC, I believe, approved their budget yesterday, if I'm correct.
It happened yesterday.
So was this a conversation before the budget or after their budget approval?
This is after the budget.
After the budget approval, okay.
If I may.
Yes.
ACA did approve their budget yesterday with our $2 million agreement. We had sat down, it was many conversations to come to that agreement. Although there is a deficit of around $629,000, that a lot of that is actually not cash-based because it is depreciation so it's not, it's depreciation over time of assets, for example, like equipment, things like that. they're going to start the year at about a cash level of $1.7 million. So they're in a good place as far as that goes. Through state grants like DCEO grants, et cetera, they've received about $800,000 in capital money to spend. I know they need a new HVAC system, for example. And so they have, you know, some good funds as far as that goes regarding capital improvement projects over at ACA. I do think that they are, you know, everyone has to belt tighten a bit. Certainly, we don't want to see them go down without a boiler and have appropriate heat for their performances and things like that. As far as speaking to, you know, the downtown sales tax sort of look, you know, I think somebody had asked for this. Food and beverage and sales tax has not increased significantly from 2019. We have $96,173 in food and beverage tax from 2019 to 2024 that's increased. Sales tax has only been an $85,447 increase. We've invested quite a bit more than that as a city over the years in those in many restaurants in downtown Aurora, and we're just not seeing that return in the same way. Although, of course, I do agree it is an economic driver. We're not necessarily seeing in that return back to Aurora and the taxpayers in that way. So I would just, you know, just saying it was a very long process to get us to that 2 million, and part of that is. You know, it's been an agreement. ACA felt very good about that in that when we came to that agreement, I feel like we did our due diligence and everyone's got to feel a little bit of a belt tightening. Certainly we have at the city.
Okay, thank you for that. This is my proposal. It just stands on what it is. I gave you the facts, I gave you the numbers. I talked to the treasurer yesterday. This is where it is. I'd like to let the committee decide if they want to do this or not. This money here was for the downtown to help businesses to lend them. I can't think of a better way to use that money, a portion of that, so that's why I'm making that proposal. It's going to stand on its own. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Do we know if the treasurer voted for the budget yesterday?
I have no idea, sorry.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
that there was any contention or if it passed unanimously,
Okay.
I'm not sure.
If I may interject on the subject real quick. So you said they have enough money to start moving over for the budget year. Is that enough at least to get it through the 6-month period when we review the budget in the summer?
Sure. As far as I understand, yes.
Okay, because typically they need to run. They're probably running the boiler right now as it is already. It's winter time. I'd be surprised if it's not running after October. So it's up and running. The biggest challenges that I've typically found professionally is when you try to start it up, or after you shut it down and try to get things back up and running.
Dr. Caputo, may I just ask, since he's around the corner, can you let us know if it passed unanimously? Since he was present at the board meeting.
The budget was passed unanimously by the ACA board.
Thank you.
Okay.
You know, and it is a cash balance budget is what has been reported to me. So I think they're in a good place. Always can take another look 6 months in.
Sure. Okay. All right. Alderman Bug.
Thank you. I was not going to discuss ACA today, although that's been on.
Well, wait, point of
Fine,
order. I had a couple questions. Is this
Oh.
piggybacking my question? Because I didn't get it answered, and I have another question, and I have a statement. So,
All right, then,
I mean,
Alderman
we
Bug,
need to finish up.
We're going to let you
Well,
finish
let's
then.
finish it up.
Because you just said it stand on its own. You said it.
Well,
It sounded like
are
a
we
formal
going to
statement.
address this proposal now or not? I mean, I want to know what we do with that. So that's my request
Okay.
from the committee. So I'd like to hear from my colleagues on that, if they support that.
Likewise,
Sure.
and I didn't see any other lights on, and since Alderman Bug doesn't have the ability to have a light, I asked him if you want to chime in, so I think we're on the same page here. So Alderman Bug.
Yeah, I was going to comment on ACA. I taken a very close look at the numbers, talked to some of the members of ACA, of course, the mayor's office and the finance team. So my question to Ms. Cameron, because I knew about the grant requests and that some were coming in. Will those funds be going toward the HVAC, or do you not know where those funds will be going?
Around $600,000, I believe, is going to the HVAC system.
Okay, to keep things moving. Okay. So yeah, I think we all knew that on their ledger, they had proposed that they would come up some number short. That would include our $2 million. Alderman Finkel, his number, I believe he just threw out was $1.425 million. I'm of the vantage point of we pledged the $2 million. They agreed to it to wait and see how we're doing at the 6-month mark. I was weighing that with the number I was looking at cash wise was additional $500,000. And that's the number I was weighing in my head. I knew about the HVAC system and those issues. And $500,000 going toward, generally, but going toward many things. Part of it toward $1 million quartet, and part of it for other things. I kind of, hindsight's 2020. Kind of wish we weren't in the quandary. Back a number of months ago, we asked that we not put through the V&A money and wait for that to go through this cycle. Actually go through the budget review. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So we've already pledged that $500,000 to them, and they have that money.
May I, Chair?
Wait, just let him finish if you
Okay.
don't mind.
There's just a
Alderman
clarification
Bug,
there.
if you continue, please.
Well, yeah, well, they don't have the money in hand. I'll change that statement. But it's already pledged. We've already voted for it. It's gone down the pike. I wish we were making that decision now and not 6 months ago. Because it's the exact same number that we pledged to them is about the amount of money we're looking at for ACA right now. So I'm going to stand. My feeling is that we take a look at this in the spring. ACA sees how their seasons are going. I expect their seasons to go tremendous, both White Christmas, Dear Evan Hansen, and getting ready for River Edge Park. And we could take a look at a budget amendment, see where they're at in the new year, and review that at that time. That's all I have on that.
Ms. Cameron.
Just for clarity, we did pay $250,000 to the V&A. The other half is in this budget, the $250,000, because we agreed to kind of split it between the two. And just to reiterate, the deficit that they have is not necessarily cash-based, that's depreciation. So it is, but what I understand and what I have been reported to is that it is a cash-based functionally balanced budget with our $2 million that we're giving ACA. So depreciation is a different thing. It is not cash involved, but it is a functionally cash balanced budget.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that clarification as well. Alderman Dambrou.
Yes, my question is, with the $2 million that's in the budget now for ACA, what is the impact on the shows? Because I know they were asking for a higher number, and then Mayor Lash said that our previous CFO had said that $2.5 million was the number, and then somehow it went down from 2.5 to 2. And so my question is, what is the impact on the shows? Are we going to have less shows? Are we going to see less shows in 2026?
So what I know is there is no impact to anything except Stope Island Social. Wrong thing. Stope Island Theater, excuse me. Stope Island Theater, they plan to do 3 months on, 3 months off. It has not been making money, but obviously it brings people to downtown Aurora. So, but 3 months on, 3 months off is what they think makes the most sense. So that is what they have chosen to do. It was not a directive. But they said this $2 million would get them to continue all programming that they currently have. That would be the only change to what we have currently.
So the in order to make a change, they need to know now. I mean, it's not like we can wait till the middle of the year, because then they would already cut out 3 months of shows. Am I?
So, so they just passed their budget. So obviously is important that we came to a deal when we did, in order for them to pass their budget. They're on the same fiscal year we are, which is calendar year. But if something were to happen there, for example, boiler give out or something like that, that's when, if they don't have certain things budgeted properly, that is a time where then, we could step in, I suppose.
And they do have the grant. They were awarded the grant?
Yes, $800,000.
Question about that. So what is an $800,000 grant going for? Because I find it hard to believe that the treasurer would call me after the meeting and say, we need this for this stuff, if he knew he was getting a grant for the boiler. That would make him misrepresent.
I'm not sure that it's the boiler. I know it's the HVAC system at the North Island Center is what I believe is the 600-some thousand. I'm not sure what the remaining 150 to 200 is for. I think it's for capital projects, so it may have whatever that, certainly that amount might be able to go to the boiler. I haven't been told about the boiler until today.
A couple things. First of all, if you're going to plan in the Paramount, you can't wait till halfway through the season and say, okay, we're good now, let's schedule some shows that should have occurred 3 months ago. That's not how that works. You have to know in advance. So they need to know up front what they're going to have for 2026. If you're saying that $600,000 is a cash problem, depreciation problem, then I would amend what I'm asking for ACA to be the $625 for the boiler and the chiller at the Paramount Theater, and then $200,000 to keep the Stope Island production running 10 months as opposed to 6 months. So that would be $825,000. So I would take that $600,000 out and amend it to that because of what you just said, and this will allow them to do the shows and allow them to fix that so we don't have any problems during the winter. Because if it goes out in the winter and says, oh, we'll reimburse you to fix it, but then we lost a week of shows as they're fixing it, we can't have that happen. It's got to be done in advance. So I would amend my proposal to take $825,000 out of the $7.7 million from the Community and Economic Development Lending Program.
I have to understand, if it goes down, I mean, we're not going to have heat at all? I mean, is that what the thought is?
That's what I was told. But, well, if you're in the middle of a show, it breaks, what do? You have to fix it. So you're probably going to lose a couple days or maybe a week for them to get in. They're not going to fix it right on the spot. They're going to have to put a new one in. So that's not a thing that we say when it breaks, we'll fix it. It's ready to go now. We need to get ahead of that. We can't lose shows. You would do it on your own house if you could. You say, hey, the boiler's going to go, the furnace is going to go, let's get ahead of it. So yeah, I think that would be the prudent thing to do with this, to get ahead of that.
Yeah, the only thing my thought goes to is when a boiler breaks down to some degree, doesn't mean that it shuts down completely. These older boilers don't shut down completely. the way they work. They just have a little bit more reduced capacity. Doesn't mean that heat's not provided for the building. So for it to completely go down 100%, that means they're not looking at it from a maintenance perspective yearly. They've really let it go. There's a lot of issues with it today, and it would be a red flag to the point where you need to change it today and not trying to figure out when you're gonna replace it. So I'm not, the thing is, I'm an architect, so I start looking at it that way too. So I'm not quite sure if it's a doom or gloom type thing, first and foremost. But the other thing too that I want to also ask is, when this budget, we still haven't figured out the outlying 1.2 million with online, correct?
Can
Their
you,
debt?
Give me, about their debt? No. I mean, they're working through it as far as I
Okay.
know. I'm not very
All right.
involved in that.
So there's some things that are still out there, still on the outlay. A little precarious that they would unanimously vote their budget last night, and now we're trying to change it, an agreement that already has happened between the city that's been going on for a while. It just didn't happen overnight. So, and everybody's trying to sharpen up their pencil. So I'm not quite sure if I'm not ready to vote in favor of this type of a motion personally, but I will open it up now as well to, for some insight requests by Alderman Patty Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we're forgetting something, something fairly large. The Paramount has already canceled the Bold Series, which was $1 million. And what we're forgetting about that is, due to that cancellation, our downtown restaurants are already suffering. So if you remember that as we have this conversation, and you talk about halvening the amount of shows that they have at Stope Island, now you're asking for not only the Paramount to continue to take the hit, but for our downtown businesses. So this is bigger than just the Paramount when we're making these decisions. And anyone who attends the Paramount, goes to Paramount, is a subscriber to the Paramount, understands that, because these people are coming down here to go to the Paramount. They're coming down on a Wednesday or Thursday night. They're not coming down here just to go to our restaurants. They're coming down here to go to the Paramount and then go to our restaurants, or vice versa. So we've already taken a hit in our downtown with the Bold Series. Already been $1 million cut with the Bold Series. Now we're making another huge cut with Stope Island. So I completely disagree with, I understand, where we're coming from with the vote taken yesterday. I get it. That's a little perplexing, but we really need to reconsider giving them the money to keep Stope Island going for 10 months rather than 6 months. And that's kind of the position that I'm going to be in. And I think we're all fooling ourselves if we think the heat doesn't go off in the Paramount, that it's not going to shut down for more than a week. And it is an old building. And they have known, we've known this for a few years, that this boiler was coming. And every year it's gotten a little bit weaker. So if we're going to leave them in that situation, it's a little risky for all of us. But I think, again, we need to remember they're already taking a hit. Our city's already taken a hit. We have money. We've gone through the processes of eliminating a lot of things, tightening our belt. The Paramount does need to become financially stable on their own, but we also talked about giving them a soft landing. And I believe this extra money would give them a soft landing. Thank you.
Burrow.
Yeah, I would like to get more confirmation on that grant and what it's going to be used for.
Sure.
I'm not against helping out with that. They have an old building, and those things are expensive, but don't, if it's already going to be taken care of, I think it would be good information to know.
Yeah, I can get information on that, and then the boiler as well. From my understanding, they have the cash to be able to pay for something like the boiler should it happen. So that's that they have cash for capital improvements. But I will certainly ask for those details and send it to everyone.
would it be possible to have the treasurer come in and give a report? Because I want to make sure, you know, when we say they passed the budget, let's be clear about something. They passed the budget because they had to pass the budget. This is not the budget they wanted. They were supposed to get 7 million, then they were going to be good with 5.5, and then it went down to 2.5, then it went to 0. Then they said we could do with 3.3, and now it's 2. So those numbers keep changing. I'd like to hear somebody from ACA come here and give us exactly what we're talking about. Because I talked to the treasurer yesterday, and I'd be in shock if he asked for something he didn't need when he knows what we're going through. So I would suggest that we have him come to whatever next finance meeting we have to talk about this, to give us exactly what they need so we can get it down to the penny. Because the numbers I have here came directly from him yesterday after the budget.
I
Well-
certainly can speak to ACA about coming and speaking. I think you need to know is that we sat down over many meetings, came to an agreement that we all felt good about and they said that they were able to do what they needed to do with this amount. We have several things at the city we would like to do too. We don't love our budget either, but it's the best that we could do. We have a leaky roof that we consistently have to patch at animal control, for example. There's many things that we wish we could do, but with where we are fiscally, we have to be really careful, and we want to make sure that we are.
So, real quick, I don't think that everybody felt good about that. And I will tell you right now that when the aldermen up here speak, we're not speaking for ourselves. This is what our constituents want. We know that. They've come to meetings and told us that. So ACA is very important to them. Number two, to public safety. So I will segue at my next question right now because I want ACA to come in. So I'm also going to request a proposal, and this is from
Can we
Alderman
finish, can we finish on that proposal, though? I just want to add something,
sure.
too, as well. And we have to also understand that we have taken steps in the past with bringing in more restaurants, try to bring in food and beverage tax, sales tax in for the shows as well. I have personally been asking you practically weekly, which you finally provided. It was a tedious task, I believe, to provide City Council with updated numbers for downtown businesses, sales tax and beverage. You did a comparison from 2019 to 2024, I believe, correct? Mm-hmm. It went up about 24%, and that 24%, though, is probably a number that probably is just probably not a full reflection even of costs that restaurants have to increase and pass. They have to purchase product, increase their product cost to the patrons, and it's probably not fully reflective. Part of the challenge too we're having right now is at least one, if not a couple of restaurants are closed down or getting ready to close down potentially, with some challenges based on conversations I've had with Mr. Dave Debo also. So we have invested, and we're continuing, and I think this process here that we have before us in the budget for $2 million reflects that we're still trying to help out as well. It's just a matter of how much do we keep helping, and that's the key thing when it's all said and done. To what extent do we do that? And hopefully, we realize that giving away $500,000, giving away $1 million to prop up some projects and keep them going downtown, to respond to the requests of patrons that are 80% from outside of Aurora, that wanted more restaurant, wanted more selections. The way I understood it, we're in the situation right now where we have challenges, and it's like, which kid do you take care of first? Which department you take care of first as well? Mr. Brian Caputo is here. He is a member of that board. He's told us it was unanimous. If Mr. John Savage can come before us, I'm more than happy to see him. I'd like to see that too. Talk to us a little bit about it and give us some more insight, considering that he voted on this on their budget last night from what we hear. I'd like to know more as well moving forward to get some more clarity from the board, because they have their board president, I believe, also gave a statement or two in regards to this agreement, a joint statement with the mayor's office. So I want to make sure that we're all both on the same page. I should say based on what we're hearing here today in terms of the testimony of Alderman Carl Franco and his conversation with Mr. Savage. So make sure it's apples to apples. I agree with that. So.
All right, before I go on to my next one, when we give money to ACCA or other businesses downtown, it's not a giveaway, it's an investment for a return on our investment because we generate money from all these people. So I just want to make sure we understand it's investment, not a giveaway. Giveaway would be something to a park that doesn't provide any revenue for us. My second thing is, this is from Alderman Seville. He gave me some numbers. So he had talked to APD. So I would request that we provide APD with an additional $389,000. What this will do for them for next year, we'll get the $225,000 of that would go towards the cadet program. $94,000 would go toward their criminal analysts that they would like to have, they desire, and a traffic secretary for $70,000. Now, I believe, and I didn't even know that we had the surplus in there for $480,000, so we could go there, because that's an easy one. But I was gonna suggest, not knowing that we had a surplus, that we have a fund, property and casualty fund, that we are putting an additional, let me see what we got here. Sorry, give me a second on this. Okay, property and casualty insurance fund. We are going from 5 million to 9.349 million, so we're putting in 4.248 million in there. To me, that seems excessive. So for me, I would think that it's easy to take that 389,000 to get a couple things back for the police department and not really being a factor for us in the long term by taking that money out of that fund, which went from 5.1 million, as I said, to 9.35 million. I think that 4.248 million, that's the difference, is a little bit excessive, so I would suggest either there, or now that we have an excess, taking it from the 480,000. So that would be my proposal for that. As we know, people are very concerned about public safety, so whatever we can get back to them would be a benefit for us, and it would certainly make the community feel a lot better that we're trying to go in this direction to help them out again.
Real quick, do you have more amendments, proposals?
No, that was just the two.
Those are the two?
That's just the
Okay,
two.
all right. Alderman Barrow.
Is that a motion?
No, it's not.
It's just a
I was
discussion.
asking if he had more,
No,
because,
Well, I will make a motion. Now, I would suggest we take it out of property and casualty fund, even though we could take it out of the surplus, but I would suggest that because I think it's excessively funded. And we don't need to have it in there. And if, as a city, if we gotta be creative, and we're gonna excessively fund one thing, but defund the police, defund the fire department, I won't say defund ACCA, but not provide them what they requested, then I think we better take a look at that, get creative, and try to balance it out with the needs and desires of our community. I think this would be a step in the right direction.
May I ask?
yes. Go ahead.
Stacy, of our property casualty fund, how much is already kind of spoken for within that or tied to things that we will owe or owe currently? Do you know?
We can go back and review it. What we do on an annual basis is review what we potentially need in reserves, working with the third-party administrator and assessing the potential liability that we have throughout the year to assess how much we need to fund. In prior years, we have not funded that particular fund over time, so it's getting it to where we have funding amounts that meet the potential reserve that we have.
I would also just ask, these numbers that you received here, I'm not sure, are those full benefits and everything attached to them, Alderman?
I guess I would ask the police chief who's here if he could comment on that.
Good evening. Matt Thomas, Chief of Police. So the question was, what are the what is the,
Sorry, my question was, is that the full amount for all of those? Does that conclude things like, you know, all of the full benefit package as well as a workman's comp, et cetera?
give me 1 second to look up the positions again. It was the kick analyst, the cadet program sounds correct. That was
25,000.
25,000, and then the traffic secretary.
Mike gave me a number of 70,000.
Sounds correct. I may have to go into the decrement folder here. Give me a second. Yeah, the cadet program would be, you know, their salary and tuition. So that looks right. The, let me find the secretary here.
Tuition for the cadets.
So the traffic secretary was 69,530. The cadets, they have at 449,000. That's with the, so it must have just been with just salary, not tuition reimbursement.
Okay.
And then the kick secretary, or the kick analyst, 94,675.
I mean, those are right
Thank you.
about, you know, but the one was a little bit lower, one was a little bit higher, and then the 225 was apparently just salaries.
Just salary, not with the, not with the tuition,
Right.
correct. Now, we do have 4 of those that we're hoping to hire next year, so.
So I guess since you're up here, Chief, and I got this from Alderman Seville, who got it from somebody from APD, would this be a step in the right direction and basically your desires going forward with what you need? I mean, obviously, you wanted everything, but I mean, would this help?
In order of priority, I mean, the cadet program is a big hiring pipeline for us, right? That's a very important program for us. The kick analyst is important. You know, I think, like I mentioned the other day, the sworn police officers is probably the most important because that's the one that takes the longest to recruit, hire, train. It's the most expensive. We have the highest turnover. We just lost another one yesterday that decided to go, you know, down another career path. So, you know, I would say that the sworn positions are the most important to us right now because we're losing those. But if you're willing to give us back, you know, some money, you know, like you mentioned, we'll take whatever we can get.
Right, and like I said, I talked to Alderman Seville, who had done some homework on that, so I just assumed that this was a moderate way to getting some of that stuff, where that's too expensive, but yet, you know,
Yeah, it's
389,000 with our
cheaper.
budget, it seems like it's reasonable. The cadet program, I think, is very important because it
agree.
helps you, you know, long-term and keeps that pipeline going somewhat.
Correct.
So, but if you feel that this is maybe not the most important, but appreciative and it's going to help, then I would continue to support that. I would
Okay.
think that we could do that.
Yeah.
I just want to hear from you this.
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
Chief, just real quick, help me understand something too. When you made your presentation here not too long ago with the deputy, you made it clear that it was just a temporary, right? A temporary request in terms of some of these decrements.
Well, some of the cuts, you know, are more sustainable than others, but yes, the bulk of the cuts we would, you know, hope are temporary because the you know, hopefully the city will be in a better position. But
Right.
some of them are sustainable a little longer than others, right? Training, overtime, those things need to be a little bit more temporary. Some of the personnel cuts we're hoping are more temporary, but some of the other cuts, you know, could be are a little bit more sustainable for a longer period of time. Yeah.
So any of these items that were brought up on behalf of Alderman Mike Seville, are those sustainable for another year or at least 6 months?
The cadet program, I think we would like to get that back as soon as possible. I mean, that was one of the ones that, we eliminated through attrition. So, if we can hang on to that one, that's a very important hiring pipeline. Takes a long time, to recruit, qualified police officers, and we prepare our cadets for what's coming next. So I do feel like that would be beneficial. Again, I think we have 4 people that are prepared to be hired next year. So going down an eligibility list, they don't have the experience with the Aurora Police Department. We haven't had the benefit of, observing their work ethic, their dependability. That's why the cadet program is so valuable, I think, is because you get to kind of, it's a foreshadowing of what this employee is going to look like if they become a sworn police officer.
I'm just trying to get the message down. That's what I'm trying to get down. So,
Okay.
the sustainable message that was brought before us, is that sustainable for at least 6 months?
The cadet program?
Yes.
Well, we're
mean, it's-
going
it's
through
obvi- it's-
attrition, so to me,
Right.
if we can, I only have 1 vacancy right now anyway, right? I have 11 cadets, so I
Okay.
only have 1 vacancy right now. I'll have 2 in January. 3 would be in April. My 4th would be in September. So yes, we could sustain it for 6 months because I don't have those, any vacancies to fulfill.
Okay.
Or
All
to
right.
fill.
All right, because that's what we were talking about even with the previous motion, to how much can we sustain this thing for at least another 6 months, where we get a better picture
Mhm.
as well here with our budget and our outlays moving forward. That's where I'm coming from. So
Okay.
I appreciate that. Alderman Bug?
Yeah, thank you. I just have a comment, a general comment, about the proposal. Property and casualty. For the city council, we know that the city of Aurora is self-insured. And thus you have to gauge and forecast property casualty matters. For the aldermen, know that we have had many executive sessions, and we're going to have many more. And we know the types of things we discuss in executive session. We know the types of numbers that we've been discussing in executive session. And that is the reason the property casualty number is where it is, looking at things that may come into executive session that we anticipate in the future, near future. And so, yeah, property casualty increased greatly. It increased greatly because it needed to. And most likely we're going to run up to that full number that we have budgeted. So let me just say that to begin. So if we were to find additional dollars for the police department, be it whatever program, I think we would not be looking toward property casualty.
Well, I made my motion, so we can move this along. So we're either gonna do this or not, but I will make a statement right now, and I hope people aren't surprised at this. If some of these things don't come to fruition, if we find we have excess money in funds, and we're not willing to use some of our other money to keep our economic engines afloat, this budget may not pass the city council in a month. It just may not. So I'm just warning everybody right now, we better start thinking about how we're going to make these things whole when there's money in the budget. And if we're not willing to move it around creatively in realistic terms, it's going to be a no. And then we're going to figure out the last second how we're going to do this. So I hope everybody understands that. And I'm not saying that because of me. I've talked to a lot of my colleagues. So this is where we're at. So I hope between now and then, we come to some agreement on how we can help out as much as we can with the money that's there. moving it around the way we should. And that's very important. So that's my motion. I would just like
Yeah.
it to be addressed.
If I may, are you increasing that based on those numbers? So those numbers added up are $613,205.
For the police?
Yes.
I had 225 for cadets and 74.
So he had suggested it was 449 for the cadets, though.
Well, he was talking about the tuition. I guess we were, the initial part was
okay.
salary, so I can let Chief Thomas talk on if one is necessary for the other. Maybe, maybe not.
So in order of priority, to me, our training budget is probably the most important budget to try to recoup some of that. That's where we're making some of the biggest cuts and sacrifices. I think we took about $100,000 out of that account. But personnel is also extremely important as well. The cadet program, again, I have 4 vacancies. I only have 1 vacancy right now, and then a couple more in a few months. So we can just backfill those, so we wouldn't have to. I'm sorry, what's that?
Wouldn't need the full amount, is that what you're saying?
Correct. We wouldn't need the full amount this year. Well, we would need the full amount. We'll have 12 cadets then, right? But we don't have anybody to backfill those right now. But I do feel like the training for our officers is important. We do have a records clerk, a CDT, that those are equally important positions that there's going to be shared workloads trying to cover for those vacancies. Again, sustainable for the year, but if we're prioritizing positions, the traffic secretary was important. It allowed our officers to get out on the street more for details. Our kick analyst was important. She also served as another set of eyes in our kick center for situational awareness when calls for service came out. So if you were asking me how to spend the $600,000, I would bring back some of our training. I would bring back one of our sworn, and then I would maintain that cadet program, and then the kick analyst and the traffic secretary. You don't need the entire cadet program.
Right.
Like I said, that's through attrition anyway. That was going to be through attrition, but I'd like to retain everybody I have and then hire at a pace that is, responsible for the city.
All right, so I'm trying to pare this down to what you need. So I was proposing 389, so now we're up to 600,000 because of these other things. Is that?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
I'll
push it for that. Yeah.
So I would suggest then that if you think you need the 600,000, that I will pull off my motion, and maybe between now and when we go to COW with this, or if we can get some more information on the exact numbers, and I will make a new proposal.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna get it down to exactly what we need. So like I said, I got this from Alderman Seville. I don't know if the priorities were quite right. I thought this was, but maybe there's something different in there, and it could be even more money. So if we could do that, because I just think, again, I think there's some money out there, and I want to squeeze that money out to make sure we have public safety and keep everything balanced where we need. And I'd like to see some numbers on the property and casualty, because if we need that much, there's got to be some data that reflects a formula of some sort, how much you need based on past history or the size of your community or stuff like that. So, because, again, I don't want to excessively fund something and then somebody over here in public safety doesn't get it. So I want to make sure we're right where we need to be. So if we could do that, and I can talk to you in the meantime, we could talk about that again. So
I think that'd be great. I mean,
Yeah.
really, it just comes down to like a dollar amount.
Right.
What am I looking at? If you tell me about what I'm looking at, then I can give you the prioritization of what we'd like back, right? So
Right.
if you said 600, I could tell you, well, we could have maybe, we'd like some training back. We could get by with 8 cadets.
Right.
We could get by with a kick analyst and then a traffic secretary, right? That's kind of how it would work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Once I add a dollar amount, I could give you a prioritization. Or I could give you prioritization, then you pick what the dollar amount would be.
Well, I think because we don't have a specific, like, there's $700,000 for you, so I think the better way to go is give us your priorities,
Okay.
break it down, and we can say, where can we find the things that are most important to you, whether it be 389 or 600,000. I think it might be a better way to go, because I think we want to be as precise as possible with this.
I'd like to recommend something, and that is, make sure that you have a conversation with Ms. Stacy Peterson, get the account numbers straightened out, which account numbers you propose the numbers to come from, and where you want them to, or if you want to have Alderman Seville propose that as well, I would say he should maybe also talk to Mrs. Stacy Peterson, so we're actually making sure we're doing this the right way. My past experience on finance is there were numbers, account numbers associated to a motion as well when it was presented. So to make sure that we have everything above board and not just talking in generalities that can be misconstrued maybe down the road by anyone. So that's my recommendation moving forward.
That's fine.
I think that's important.
Right.
So make sure that the community knows everything's above board, so moving forward.
And then, so I will finish it off. Those are my two proposals, and I did have a question. I talked to the, we're done. Thanks, Chief. With the head of the Alliance, and she had called me and says, I'm not sure where this $2 million that's coming into our budget from them, because they've never talked to us, so can you expound on that? Because they had no idea that they were giving $2 million back. So we need to talk about that, because that's in the budget.
Yeah, Dr. Caputo's coming forward.
That is only a figure for planning purposes. We're just starting our discussions with the Alliance to unwind the arrangement where we bring the economic development function back into the city and reestablish a traditional sort of chamber of commerce. It could be somewhat higher, it could be somewhat lower. But the general idea is to unwind that arrangement and have that money come back to the city. But we're way too early to be getting, I think, too focused on the specific number. So that's as much as I can say at this point.
Yeah, I mean, based on what you're saying, it was probably a communication breakdown. They thought it's gone, but you still got to talk about it. So that could have been what it was.
Yeah, that's really all it is.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, part of our ability to kind of raise the amount for ACA is that hope that, some of that unwinding happens. So that's where we were able to give more than we thought we were going to be able to.
I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. Brian Caputo, Director of Operations Management.
Dr. Caputo, for the record.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So,
Yes.
Alderman Barrero.
Yes, so sometimes I feel like we're doing this backwards. So appreciate Alderman Franco's ideas. I wanted to come at from a different angle and look at money that we might be able to tap into. So the first one was I had brought up the need for the Salt Dome, and it was deferred. So we're having a savings in MFT. Can we move one of the projects and capital projects, one of the street projects, into MFT, so then that adds more discretionary money into the capital projects A fund? That's number one. Number two, I appreciate the schedule that we got on the bonds 2025 series. And in the 2025 Series C, there was a balance of money that's not spoken for, $3.1 million. Now, can we use that for Belcher Road instead of taking it out of the gaming tax? And then that's going to add $3.1 million back into the gaming tax fund, so we can accomplish these things that we're talking about up here. Those are my two requests.
I can speak to that second one for sure right now. Right now, we kind of see that $3 million as contingency across many different projects, because a lot of those projects are not finished. Some have just begun, some are closer, but to the end. I think that there is a potential that we'd be able to move at some point, but not at this point. I think it's keeping, especially with our fire stations, important to have contingency to finish up the project. So,
I want to push back on that.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that all these projects have been let. We have bids, we awarded the bids, each of the bids has a contingency amount already built in. And we're gonna endeavor to stay within that budget, right? On time, on budget, isn't
That is
that what we
always the
endeavor
hope,
for?
yes.
So to me, in my mind, this 3.1 million is unspoken for because we already let those projects out, we already know what they're gonna cost, and we already have contingencies built in. So that's where I'm going to push back on it.
I would just say that I've been involved in many construction projects in my professional career, and contingencies do dry up due to unforeseen circumstances. I certainly hope that doesn't happen, and we can have extra to apply to other things, being that, or the cost of things. But I see Jason has come up, so I'll let him continue.
Yeah, Jason Bauer with the Department of Public Works. Yeah, to her point, when we get a little bit further along, some of those projects are extremely large, and they had, I wouldn't say conservative, but slightly conservative amounts of contingency. So we wanted to make sure that since those were the projects identified for the bond, that there was enough left over for those, just in case. I mean, it's definitely something we can look at when we get further along in the year. And that, as far as the salt dome goes, we're not really removing it, we're delaying it by a year. So that MFT money really needs to stay spoken for that project. The MFT fund is another one that we use significantly, and it has been going down. The balance has gone down. We're not getting the same amount we were before because of the lower census numbers. We get MFT based on population, so we're not getting quite as much. And that $2 million, it might not happen. We've pushed it from 26, but it probably will happen in 27, and it's still coming out of that same pot of money. So if we put that in there, it just means one of those future years we're going to have to dip into capital for the salt dome versus, to fill the void for the other projects.
Okay, thank
Can I
you.
chime in on that fire
Go ahead.
station? When it was approved, Fire Station 4, in addition to the normal contingency of 1.5 million, there was also 2.4 million allocated for completion of design elements, premium cost design elements. Have those all been worked out at this stage, or are you still working on those?
Yeah, I probably can't answer to that one just yet. Just
Okay,
now inheriting the department in the next couple of days.
Because
here,
that
so.
2.4 million, is very skeptical here right now, especially when we're talking about 3.1. It could potentially balance itself out as well with that unknown.
It's one of the things we're trying to look into right now, as Stacy and I have been going over the bond, is trying to get a much more accurate number on the fire stations.
Okay, all right, okay. I just want to make sure. That's what happens when you're an architect.
Thank you. I'm done with you. Now I
Yeah.
got one more thing. So this is, don't think we're going to accomplish this or finish this discussion here, but I do want to bring up this thing that's going around concerning brownouts of two fire trucks. One of them is going to affect Ward 1 by the reduction in staffing for the fire department is going to result in two ladder trucks. We're not going to be able to staff those. And I have heard that one of the goals of the mayor's office is to brown out those two trucks. I can certainly understand the need to have a hiring freeze because of our budget situation, but to talk about that in the long term is disturbing to me. I don't know what data it's based on. Have we looked at what is going to be the impact on response times? What's going to be the impact on the ISO ratings? Is it going to increase insurance costs and those types of things? What is the impact of browning out two ladder trucks? I don't think we've seen anything to that effect, but we need to know that information in advance before we make those kinds of decisions and start talking about that, because I don't think it's right for the mayor's office to talk about that and not involve the city council.
So I believe, I'll ask Chief McCabe
Because,
to
and
come
also,
up
and
here.
also, those are the types of things that should be brought up when you have these town halls. You want to be transparent, bring that up and see what the reaction is.
Well, real quick, when did we know about those? Were they included in the budget? The two fire ladder trucks?
Yes, and so Chief McCabe,
Okay.
when we were through the process and the presentation about the two ladder trucks, because they're the least used out of the fire department, the most used is the ambulances. Certainly have the most calls. The ladder trucks are in addition, but I'll have, you're the expert, speak on that. We do, when we met with the aldermen 2 by 2, we did go through this as well, talking about that specifically before we presented the budget on October 15th as well.
Hi, good afternoon, Dave McCabe, Fire Chief. When we spoke about this, when we first met with the mayor's office and we had to decrement, we were given a dollar amount percentage to try to get to. We just couldn't do it without personnel. About 92% of our budget is personnel, wages, benefits, and other items related to that. Obviously, ideally, we don't want to brown out any vehicles. And at the point we're at right now, the first of the year, when there are not very many people off on vacation in January, February, even the beginning of March, and we will likely still have enough personnel to keep every vehicle in service every day. So I think the mayor misunderstood what we spoke about. He was talking about the way he talked about it sounded like the station's getting shut down for the year. That truck's just getting caution tape put around it. What it is as our staffing levels go down through this attrition process, what we haven't gotten to yet exactly is what's the overtime allocation can be allowed. So what we're gonna be at, if the two trucks are browned out, it's gonna be the same number we had in 2000, I believe it was 10, when truck 11 got browned out back in, after the 2008 downfall. We were down to 2 ladder trucks. We'd be back down to that same level now, but our calls are about 50% higher than they were back then. And so when we have enough personnel to have all the vehicles in service, they'd all be in service. Then as we're short personnel, it's gonna be an ongoing fluid discussion, from what I understand, between the fire department and the mayor's office over how many overtimes a day are we gonna fill? You know, if we're down 3 people, are we calling 3 people in, or do we shut a vehicle down? If we're down 6 people, do we call 3 in, shut a vehicle down, shut 2 vehicles down, call in 6 people? And those are things that we're still being worked on because they didn't have final numbers for us to work with. And that's gonna be obviously an ongoing fluid conversation as it gets into the new year. What Shannon alluded to is that the ladder trucks do run less calls, but they are less maneuverable getting to those calls because they're bigger vehicles. Because, you know, obviously they can't weave in and out of cars like ambulances and chief's buggies can. So they do take longer to get places, and they also have specialized equipment on it that no other vehicles have. Besides, you know, everybody sees the ladder on top and figures that's what the ladder truck is for. But they also have all the extrication equipment for car accidents is only on the ladder trucks. And, you know, the rescue equipment for the Stokes basket for rescuing somebody from a high angle or below ground situation, those are only on the ladder trucks. So they don't run as many calls as the ambulance and the engines, but more often when they go on a call, it's a legit call. It's a serious call. You know, the fire engines they go on illegal burn calls, they go on, you know, they go on the EMS calls, they go on fire alarm calls, residential fire alarms, which are 99% of the time faulty alarm, battery, or, you know, they left the pot of meat on the stove a little too long and they smoked up the kitchen. Very often when our ladder trucks go on calls, it is a serious call. And so any structure fire, we have 2 trucks at it.
And I will say just the way they're staffed, you know, there's a certain amount of staff that's assigned to every apparatus. And we have worked really hard to find ways to take things through attrition so there wouldn't be immediate impact on any of these things, and to work with staff in order to have there to be the least amount of impact possible to our residents.
Like I said, I
I would say it's
understand,
not our
I understand
goal.
for 2026, but what I'm hearing is the long-term goal to brown these out. That is disturbing to me. And when you look at Ward 1, we're a pretty large ward geographically, and trying to get a ladder truck from Central Station to north of the tollway, that is quite some distance. Or trying to get a ladder truck from McCoy all the way north of the tollway. We're talking great distance there. I mean, these are things that need to be, talked about, and we need to get more data. What kind of response times are we talking about now with this change? I don't think it's right to talk about this as a permanent thing, not involving the council. When you said it was brought up, the alderman, when we had 2-on-2 meetings, it was not discussed as a permanent thing, but that's what I'm hearing, and I'm not.
Well, I think we don't hope for it to be permanent. We've had a lot of development.
Then it needs to quit being talked about as it is.
I can
Because if
suggest
somebody
that.
says it and it comes from the third floor, people believe it. And that's
It's
what
not-
I'm hearing.
not
That's what I'm
confirming.
hearing, and I want that corrected. And I'm going to be at the town hall on Saturday, and I want these types of things brought up, because we're not having these hard discussions. We're having it, what I'm hearing, it's a dog and pony show. But these are the things that matter.
Understood.
Alderman Bug.
Thank you. I wanted to comment on something one of my colleagues said regarding ACCA. And it's very important that we put out factual information, and we've discussed a little bit about this a couple months ago. So my colleague used the word "we," meaning us, I guess meaning the alderman. And the statement was, we began at 7 million. Okay? We did not begin at 7 million. $7 million was a campaign pledge from the former mayor and his staff or administration to the administration of ACCA. It was not budgeted. It was not planned. It was not discussed with the city council. It was not discussed with any realm of a budget. We began this budget discussion, well, Stacy began it probably back in April or March, but we began this budget discussion a couple months ago. So we did not begin this at $7 million. And that $7 million pledge from the former mayor died on election day. And we as a city council and the new administration need to go forward with our numbers, with our negotiations. And thank you, Mr. Bauer, for making the statement that a lot of people forget. Our census numbers went down 10%. So every time we ask the federal government for contribution, we get 10% less than we used to. And that impacts our revenue sharing from the federal government greatly. So part of this whole process was handling each department's budget, knowing that we would be receiving 10% less in a federal share. And thus it's been very difficult. And that's what we've had to contend with. That's why each department was asked to chip in and to tighten their belts. And part of the hope is that we can very quickly and swiftly, given the state of the federal government, but get back to moving on our special census. So once we can finalize those numbers with the state, receive that money back, because we know we didn't go down 10%. Everyone knows that. And that money is due to the city of Aurora for every resident who lives here. And it's not 10% less than it was previous to the census. So when we talk about the facts, the figures, the numbers, we always want to be clear with what we came in with, what was truly budgeted, and how we go from there. So promises made last year, promises made earlier this year that were not a part of the budget have no consideration. We have the budget before us, given our current status. I yield it back to you,
All right.
Alderman Nestor.
We're very close to 5 o'clock here. I think we've said a lot on this subject matter already. I think, I don't know much more can be said. That one's not going to probably repeat itself, but I know we're going to be talking about this from what the sentiment is from a few of my colleagues here. We're going to continue talking about it at COW, so Committee of the Whole, and potentially even into City Council. So, again, make sure that resolutions or potential resolutions or amendments are worked out with Mrs. Stacy Peterson with exact account numbers, and give her an opportunity also to plug and chug what she needs to if there's any additional things on her end in preparation for further discussion. So with that said, I'm going to ask if anyone wants to entertain a motion to move this forward to COW. A lot's been done over the past several weeks. So
moved.
a motion
Second.
by Alderman Dambrero, second by Carl Franco. Can we take, I'm sorry. No, we're not going to kill you. Alderman Keith Larson. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, one and all. And we are set for no closed session, so I ask if anybody has a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Alderman Keith Larson. Second by Alderman Dan Barrero. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed 5-0. We are adjourned at 4:57 PM.